Welcome to BookPods.
Today, we are doing a deep dive into a really, I think, a foundational book on behavioral science.
Oh, absolutely. We're talking about Charles Duhigg's The Power of Habit, Why We Do What We Do in Life and Business.
And this book, it's pretty much an operating manual for your brain. And the place to start really is this one core statistic.
Yeah, the one that just stops you in your tracks.
Exactly. When you look at the studies, it turns out that our habits, so the actions you take without even thinking, they shave over 40% of everything you do every single day.
40%. I mean, when you actually absorb that number, it's not just a statistic, is it? It explains why life can feel like such a struggle sometimes.
Right.
We think we're in the driver's seat making a conscious choice to, grab our phone or pour that third coffee, but actually almost half our day is just autopilot.
Total autopilot. And it's all about biological efficiency. Your brain is, well, it's the ultimate energy conservationist.
Okay, so what does that mean in practice?
Well, think about when you first learned to drive a car or type on a keyboard. Your brain was using the cerebrum, which is this massive energy-guzzling processing unit. It took all your concentration.
The moment of intense focus of really, really trying.
Exactly. But once your brain sees you repeating that routine and it decides, okay, this is useful, it wisely offloads the whole process.
Offloads it where?
To a part of the brain called the basal ganglia. You can think of it as like the brain's hard drive. It's the automated script department.
So it turns complex actions into these little automatic programs to save power.
Precisely. And that right there is the big problem, but also the big opportunity. That energy saving is why breaking a bad habit like biting your nails or stress shopping feels almost impossible.
Because your brain is optimized for that script. It's comfortable, it's easy, and it really fights back when you try to make it learn something new and difficult.
And that's our mission for this deep dive. We want to give you the blueprint for how that automation works so you can actually get in there and consciously rewrite the scripts you don't want.
Okay, let's do it. So this blueprint is what Duhigg calls the habit loop. He says every single habit, big or small, runs on this three-step cycle.
Yeah, 3 simple steps. Step 1 is the cue.
The trigger.
The trigger, the signal, whatever you want to call it. It's the thing that tells your brain, okay, stop thinking, run the program.
And cues can be anything, right?
Oh, they're incredibly diverse. It could be a time of day, like that 2.0 p.m. slump. It could be a location, like walking into the kitchen.
Or an emotional state, feeling stressed, feeling bored.
Yep, or even just seeing a certain person. The cue flips the switch. Then comes step 2, the routine.
The action itself.
The action. It's the physical, mental, or emotional behavior that follows the cue. So cue is walking into the kitchen after work. Routine might be grabbing a handful of cookies.
And if the cue is a stressful email, the routine could be, spending the next 20 minutes just scrolling through social media.
Exactly. And that leads to step 3, which is the whole point of the loop. The reward. The payoff. It's the good feeling, the benefit the brain gets that says, hey, this whole loop, it's worth remembering. It could be the physical taste of sugar or the emotional feeling of relief or distraction.
The book uses a really simple dog training example to illustrate this.
Right, the sound of the treat bag rustling, that's the cue.
The dog immediately runs over and sits. That's its routine.
And then it gets the treat, the reward. And if you repeat that, something much, much deeper starts to happen.
Yeah, that repetition creates what the book calls the invisible engine of the whole thing.
Yes, the craving.
The craving, this is so important. So the habit loop is the structure, but the craving is what actually makes it go.
It's the fuel. The habit doesn't really lock in until your brain starts anticipating the reward the second it perceives the cue. It's that powerful, sometimes unconscious desire for the outcome that drives you to do the routine.
So without that anticipation, the whole thing just falls apart.
Completely. If the dog stops believing a treat is coming when the bag rustles, it'll stop running over. The craving is gone.
So let's go back to the social media example. If you check your phone every time you feel stressed, the real craving isn't for the act of scrolling.
No, not at all. The craving is for the relief, for that temporary, easy distraction from the feeling of stress. You're craving an emotional shift, not the action itself.
And that is such a key insight, because if you only focus on stopping the routine, on putting down your phone, you haven't actually addressed the craving for relief.
And your brain will just find another routine, maybe snacking, maybe online shopping, maybe anything that gives it that same quick hit of distraction. Understanding what you really want is step 1 to taking control.
Which brings us to the core strategy for change in the book. Duhigg calls it the golden rule of habit change.
And it starts with a kind of a harsh truth.
which is that you can't really delete a bad habit.
You can't. It's wired so deeply into your basal ganglia that trying to just erase it is, well, it's a losing battle. The neural pathway's there. It just lies dormant, waiting for the right cue.
So the strategy isn't deletion, it's substitution.
Intelligent substitution. The golden rule is this. You have to keep the same cue and the same reward, but you consciously insert a new routine.
Okay, that sounds simple enough. But why is it so hard in practice? Why do so many people fail when they try this?
Well, often it's because they choose the wrong replacement routine, one that doesn't actually satisfy the underlying craving.
Right.
There's a great example of a heavy smoker who quits. The cue still hits that feeling of stress or just needing a 5-minute break at work.
So instead of a cigarette, the routine they substitute is, say, eating a piece of candy.
And this almost always fails. It seems logical, but it fails. Why? Because the smoker's craving probably wasn't just for nicotine. It was for the ritual, the deep breath, the physical sensation of stepping away from their desk, a feeling of release.
And the candy just gives a sugar rush. It doesn't satisfy that deeper physical and emotional need. So they feel miserable, they gain weight, and then they often go right back to smoking.
Right. Now they have two bad habits. A successful replacement routine has to satisfy that deep craving. So instead of candy, that smoker could try something like doing 10 push-ups or taking a brisk walk for 5 minutes.
So the cue is still stress. And the reward is still that feeling of physical release and control. You've just swapped the destructive routine for a positive one.
Exactly. And you can use this to build good habits, too, using a technique called anchoring.
Which is just attaching a new habit to one you already have.
Yep. So if you want to start drinking a glass of water every morning, the cue is simply your existing habit of waking up. The routine is drinking the water. The reward is that immediate feeling of hydration, of starting the day right.
But all of this, the book stresses, it all hinges on two things when it gets tough. You need belief, and you need a plan.
Willpower isn't enough. It's a finite resource. You have to actually believe that change is possible, and you have to plan for the moments of weakness.
So you anticipate the failure points.
Yes. If you know that your energy crashes at 3:30 every single afternoon, that's the cue. You have to plan for it. Don't wait for the craving for junk food to hit.
Have a healthy snack ready.
Yeah.
Or, even better, plan to take a walk at 3.25 to short-circuit the whole loop.
And this is the genius behind support groups like Alcoholics Anonymous. It's a perfect application of the golden rule.
The cue for a person in recovery is often stress or loneliness. The old reward was the escape that alcohol provided.
The replacement routine AA provides is going to a meeting, calling your sponsor. And the new reward is so powerful. It's social connection, it's validation, it's belonging. It satisfies that deep emotional craving for relief in a constructive way.
Okay, so let's shift gears to maybe the most powerful idea in the book, keystone habits.
Yes, these are special. They aren't just any good habit.
They were like a master habit.
That's a great way to put it. They're routines that, once they're in place, set off this huge ripple effect, a chain reaction of positive changes across totally unrelated parts of your life.
They're the one habit that makes a dozen other good habits easier.
Exactly. The classic personal example is exercise. When people start exercising regularly, something amazing happens. They don't just get fitter.
They start eating better.
They sleep better, they're more patient with their family, more productive at work, and they do all of this without consciously trying to build new habits for those things.
The exercise habit just reorganizes everything else.
It does, and this scales up to huge organizations. The case study on Alcoa, the aluminum company, is just fascinating.
Right. This was in the 1980s. The new CEO, Paul O'Neill, comes in, and everyone's expecting him to talk about profits and efficiency.
Instead, his very first speech, he says his #1 priority is worker safety. 0 injuries. That's it.
And the investors were terrified. They thought he was crazy.
But safety was the keystone habit. To achieve perfect safety, Alcoa had to fix everything. It forced a culture of communication. To keep people safe, managers had to listen to workers on the factory floor.
It forced them to streamline processes to remove any potential danger.
And that obsession with process perfection, that was the ripple effect. It led to higher quality products, less waste, and eventually just staggering profits. The focus on safety transformed their entire business model.
And what's so powerful about a keystone habit is the shift in identity that comes with it.
Yes, you start getting these small wins. You exercise every day, you plan your meals, and suddenly you stop seeing yourself as someone who struggles with discipline.
You start seeing yourself as someone who is disciplined,
Yeah.
who is mindful. And it becomes so much easier to act in line with that new identity.
This idea of deliberately engineering routines is huge in companies like Starbucks. They essentially train their employees to have automatic willpower.
Through the latte method.
Through the latte method.
Yeah.
They know that dealing with an angry customer is a huge stress cue, and that a barista's willpower can just snap under pressure.
So they give them an automatic routine to run.
Yeah.
Script.
Right. L is for listen. A is for acknowledge their feeling. T is for take action. T is for thank them. And E is for explain what you did.
So the Q is the upset customer. The routine is LA. And the reward is a de-escalated situation and a sense of professional pride.
And by practicing that until it's automatic, they're not just helping Starbucks, they're building an emotional resilience, a habit of composure that they can then use in their own lives. It ripples outward.
And this even scales up to an entire society. Duhigg shows how social movements, like the Montgomery bus boycott, follow these same habit principles.
It wasn't just one spontaneous event. It grew through social habits. It started with what he calls a strong tie social network.
Right. Rosa Parks' arrest was the spark because she was so deeply connected in her community, her church, her friends.
Her network already had a strong social habit of friendship and trust. That's what allowed for the immediate, powerful mobilization.
But for it to grow, it needed weak tie connections.
Yes, it had to spread beyond that core group, to friends of friends, to the wider community. That's how a movement gets scale.
And finally, it becomes permanent when it establishes a new social norm.
Exactly. Refusing to ride the buses changed from being an act of protest to just the normal thing to do. It became a new, self-sustaining social habit.
So, to recap this whole deep dive, our brains run on autopilot in the basal ganglia for about 40% of the day.
You can't delete those programs, but you can use the golden rule. Change the routine, but keep the cue and the reward to satisfy the real craving.
And if you want the biggest bang for your buck, you focus on a keystone habit that triggers those positive ripple effects.
Which brings us to a really deep kind of philosophical question the book raises.
If so much of what we do is just these pre-programmed neural scripts, this autopilot, it really makes you question the idea of free will.
Yeah.
How much control do we actually have?
That's the perfect place to land. And the answer is, well, it's nuanced. While we might not have complete free will over the habits we've already built unconsciously, the very knowledge of the habit loop is what gives us our power back. It's the key.
Because we can now see the machine. We can see how it works.
Exactly. We have the profound agency, the power to consciously shape and mold our future neural circuits. The power of habit isn't that you are a puppet. It's that you've just been handed the strings. And you can decide what your future self will do on autopilot.
That is a powerful thought, to know you can design your own destiny one habit at a time.